change something here a minute. Excuse me.
Okay, we're coming up. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Look around you, everybody. The gang's all here. I'm so excited as we are having these last shows of 2024. All the people are in the house. I'm so excited. And we're going to continue to have, just a roundup of all of our people as we close things out because we are talking about some big issues that we are talking about in 2024 as we go into 2025. I am Santita Jackson. I want you to please join in on this conversation as we talk about Vice President Kamala Harris and her future. Where does she go from here? Hey, Bernadette. What's next? Will she be governor of California? People say if she becomes governor of California or runs for it, that's the end of her political career. That's it. Other people say that maybe she should wait until 2028. She didn't get a fair run, a fair crack at 2024. What say you? She was given 107 days. That was it. And there's a lot of controversy. Miss Lavonia Perryman, award-winning journalist, about we're hearing a lot about what she was running up against. It seems that she was running within the party as well and fighting a lot of battles. Although those of us who are seasoned in politics, we saw it, Rania. You said, wait a minute, is she a captive here? It looked like it. So we're going to talk about that here on the Santita Jackson Show. But let me take care of a little bit of house cleaning. I want you to meet me and Bernadette and everybody else who I do not see over on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Please thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Help us with that algorithm, everybody. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. It turns out we've had a couple of shows over the past few weeks that have garnered more than 1 million views. So thank you for that. I don't know how that happened, but you all keep passing the shows around. And thank you. But I need you to put thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. And, of course, on Twitter, or X, the Santita Jackson Show, but really go to @Santita J. That's so much easier. Looking, plus, I love that picture. It's better. Big hair, but it was a little different then. And then, of course, Santita Jackson and Friends on Facebook. And please, not Santita Jackson. I can't accept any friends there. I have to go to the fan page. So everybody, if you get kicked off of my page, it's not my doing. It's what Facebook does. That's why I need you to go to Santita Jackson and Friends. Please go there. And I'm so proud of myself. I'm on Blue Sky. Now, everyone, the picture has my eyes closed, but I have cataracts now, so I couldn't really see the photograph, and I had to do a selfie real quick. And so that's the picture that's going to be up there until I can do better during the holiday. And that's santitajackson.bsky.social. All right. So where does Vice President Kamala Harris go from here? We have got Attorney Daryl Jones Esquire. That's right, chair of the Transformative Justice Coalition, Tio Hardiman, who has a book. Where is it, Tio?
Yeah, it's Interrupting Gun Violence, the Public Health Approach. You can find it on Amazon.
Amen, amen. And, of course, we can hear you on WVON every Sunday from 6 to 7 a.m. Of course, WVON is the iconic Black Talk radio station in Chicago. There are only a handful in the country, and his show is extremely popular here in Chicago and is gaining strength around the country. Joshua Feinstein, we've missed you. Oh, Josh from Detroit, yes.
It's really good to see you.
Allies, my brother, what have I told you? Oh, my, I love you, and I'm so glad to see you. It's not that I don't love everybody else, but I haven't seen him in a long time. That's right. And of course, my sister from Detroit, my big sister from Detroit, my mother's sister from Detroit. So she's kind of almost like an auntie. That's right. Miss Lavonia, beautiful, beautiful Lavonia Perryman, award-winning journalist and Democratic organizer, as is Rania Patrice, who came off the campaign exhausted. But Rania, Democratic strategist and organizer, talk to us. What is next as you see it for Vice President Harris? As I'm looking at the headlines, I'm reading Teray's Substack article on all of the fights that she had within the party. Mm-hmm. She actually walked. Can you imagine? She walked into her own headquarters and there were Biden signs. The people who ran the campaign were Biden's people, and Biden's people did resent her. That's real. I think look, hey, I think we don't benefit by not telling the truth. Okay, you gotta look at what she was dealing with. A lot of the word salad, which preceded this campaign, quite frankly, but it was exponentially grown by advice that she was getting. We had to ask, and we asked this on this show, Rania, do they like her? Well, it turns out maybe they didn't. So there's that part. So the question is, will she run for governor of California? People say if she runs for governor of California, that really will be the end of her career, because if she becomes governor, that's going to effectively lock her out of 2028, and that'll be that. And then other people were saying that, well, no, she didn't really get a fair chance at 2024, but she did run in 2020, and that didn't work out extremely well. And then she got a lot of really, oh wow, her assignments during her 4 years as vice president were not designed to enhance her. And then when it became clear that people were beginning to get restless about Biden, there was mischievously, a campaign to declare her illegitimate. Have I misstated anything, Rania Patrice?
Nope, that's all pretty spot on from my end. Yeah, and I think you've named all the things. And I also want to be fair, maybe is the word I'm going to use now. That might not be the right one, but honest. I want to be honest, because you are right. She did run in 2020. She did horribly in her own state.
Yes.
There are just facts about the pad that are outside of this very truncated run. However, keeping that sort of to the side for now, I actually posted publicly, because I kept saying exactly what you said out loud. Does Joe Biden want her to lose? Because I could not understand what was going on. And I actually finally said it out loud, because it seemed like such a crazy idea in my head. But then one thing after another. And I will say,
Ronnie,
I've said this too.
Ronnie, they're writing about it now.
Yeah. But it's not just him. It's everybody's, just like you said. She inherited a lot of staff. And I will say, and I've said to you before, there were some staff on that campaign who I would go into battle with 100 days out of 100. They were amazing. They worked hard. They cared deeply about the vice president and about the country. So I don't want to negate that. It's important. There were really good people on that team. And also there were people in the inner circle way high up that she inherited, she got stuck with, frankly, who were giving her terrible advice. And we're hearing it in the, like you said, they're writing about it. There's all of these things happening, but and this always happens after a bad election. It's always the covering your butt post a loss. So we're hearing it from some of these people directly, too, the excuses that they're making. And the reality is she had her hands tied. And she didn't get to, and you and I talked about this how many times, Santita, we didn't get to see the Kamala Harris that so many people knew was in there, because she was essentially being blocked by her own inner circle, who came from Biden, and the White House itself. And
because wait a minute, stay right there. Because the inner circle, we're not talking about, because the people on the ground who were doing the work, they were very supportive. There's no question about it. But we're talking about the people who ran the campaign, the people who are professional operative, the people who actually made money off of the campaign because they did the ad buys and things like that. I mean, because people don't know how politics works. And I'm going to get you in a hot second, Livonia, because this is how it works. We didn't know this one until Reverend ran in 84. Because when we got in, we said, wait a minute, hold it. You mean to tell me that the Republican and Democratic parties are actually private corporations? Whoa, you mean to tell me you actually do business with these parties? Wait a minute. Didn't realize that there was the business of politics. Let alone how you get on the ticket and this, that, and the third. I mean, it's just, I'm trying to bring it out, because as she's trying to make this decision, I think that people need to understand what she was up against. You know, I mean, beyond the fact that, you know, there were some weaknesses that she had as a candidate. That's just a fact. But she didn't have the time to work it out. And maybe she might not have worked it out, because sometimes people are just not that strong. I don't know, but you certainly are addled when you have people who don't really want you to run. Claudia.
Yeah, no one, and that's something I said too. I don't want to make too many excuses for her, because I say this as a consultant. The consultant class in politics is vile. Not sorry. I'm just going to say it. And it's
Okay.
all the money. It's all the, and I like to consider myself an exception. There are other exceptions, but the money that is raised and spent on campaigns, I mean, both parties spent over $1 billion, a billion with a B. So over $2 billion. Imagine the good that can be done with that money. You know what I mean? So let's just name that. But I also don't want to make too many excuses, because at the end of the day, it's her name that was at the top of the ticket. And she was getting horrible advice. And I think everybody can agree on that. But at some point, and they played hide the shell game or whatever. They played it with Biden. They were playing it with her too. But eventually you look around and you see what's happening. You hear what's happening. So I do think at some point leaders have to lead, even when you're getting bad advice. It's even if you're and I one of her oldest, dearest friends, who I love dearly, actually shared, she said, Ronnie, she's not a great politician. And that's true. She's brilliant, but she's not a great politician, like in the traditional sense of the term. And so I get that, and that's fair. But again, at some point, she's a smart human being, and you look around, you see what's going on, you can't ignore it. And I'm afraid she did. And I think that's a lot of what we saw. Bad advice, and then probably, I haven't spoken to her about it, but probably overriding her own intuition and what she was seeing in front of her own eyes.
Well, but when you're free, you can do more.
Yeah.
It's and true. When it's handed to you, Livonia, Perryman, if there's a difference, Rania and Livonia, between coming up with your own candidacy and having one handed to you, because that becomes a challenge. It does. I mean, and we have everything to gain by being as candid as we can, because she's only 60, and she's a youthful 60. And so I don't want to see her put in the dustbin at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, Livonia, what do you see?
Well, first and foremost, I was thinking of the campaign itself when she decided to accept the challenge.
Wait a minute, can we lift the volume, Livonia?
I hope so, and I'm going to speak up louder.
Okay, that's it.
Just when I was thinking about her campaign, I was thinking about LeBron James, and they're asking him to win the NBA All-Star game in a matter of 5 minutes. That everybody else has been out there, but nobody has done anything. So it's the 5-minute or the 2-minute warning. She came to the campaign and was agreed to do the campaign and run for president of the United States. But there were stipulations. There was a situation. There were people who said, I will support you, but you have to do A, B, C, and D. I saw that all over the country, that folk were demanding of her to be all that she could not be based on her personality, based on 4 months to run for the president, for the seat of the president of the United States. Who does that? No one in the history of America, in the United States, not even George Washington. He had a few more days to run for president. But we asked a woman, which already comes with baggage. We know that from the Hillary campaign, baggage. And then we come with culture. No one has spoke about, in my reading, getting ready for this, the culture that we were thrown into. We have to realize that the world is looking at us, and it still is black and white. It is still black and white. In all of our families, every single one of us on this phone, there is a multiracial relationship, and we love everybody in our family that don't look like me. That's a fact. But in this world that we live in America, and I said it the day after she lost, unfortunately, welcome to the real America. The election showed or shared with me what I had been watching through the campaign, working every day, that there was two Americas and two agendas. It's almost like the concert down the street is Western and the concert down on the block is rap. The rappers are not going to the country Western concert, and the people who are down the street at the country Western concert are not going to the rappers concert. We never got to pull together that America that Harris really was talking about. She tried her best. She tried her best, but we had already been separated, dissected, and did not recognize how tough it would be for anybody, female especially, to pull together America and have what we would hope was real democracy. People weren't talking about democracy. They were talking about dogs and cats. You know what I mean? Who does that? Who does that? And that was what was happening. The message was not clear. I wouldn't care where you went. It just did not tap into the people who really wanted her to carry us forward. The message was really swayed by numbers, swayed by AI, swayed by folk who were for Biden, swayed by the people who were donors. And the culture, we have to remember our culture where we live in America is still black and white.
But you know what? You know that as a black person, you're running under that. So you have to find a way to work through it and to work around it. I mean, and I hear you. You're absolutely right. And I'm wondering what Willie Brown saw that she did not see.
Hmm.
Because remember, he told her, don't stay where you are in the Senate space. I mean, and this is the guy, and you and I both know him. You know him, Rania, Patrice. We know Willie Brown. You know, he's one of the most powerful men really in modern American politics.
Yes.
And he made her career. It does not mean that she was not qualified, but he opened up everything to her, and it opened the world to her. He said, now that you've gotten this U.S. Senate seat, stay right there. There was something that he saw. I would love to get him on to talk about that, because it was something that he saw that others did not see. And
but, many people did see it. Many people did see it. I'm saying that these outside forces that we have to deal with every single day, be black, white, brown, whatever, Christian, Muslim, whatever we are dealing with, the culture has major impact on politics.
But there's no question. But Livonia, what I'm saying is she had a bad message.
Yes, she did.
I mean, because her message on price gouging, an economic populist message, tested well, but her donors pushed back. I mean, that's been documented. And so while she's running on joy, while folks can't afford eggs, that's what I was like, oh my gosh, because the thing is, it's like you started off with a message that could have helped you. But apparently her brother-in-law told her, even as she was kind of getting on Ubers, getting in their backsides, he told her, and of course he's general counsel for Uber. Please back up off of Uber. That didn't help her. When you do the forensics on a campaign, you have to put all that stuff out there.
Yes.
So you can say, if she runs for governor or if she decides to run for president again, don't do this.
Santita, I know the show is about what happened with Kamala
Uh-huh.
and what went wrong. What's her next step? In truth, and I agree with everything that's said about there was sabotage in the LeBron James analogy about 5 minutes. But the issue is not Kamala Harris in the campaign. The issue is the Democratic Party, or in your, I think you put it rightly, the Democratic corporate headquarters is running to lose. And this election was an indictment as a lifelong Democrat, and I don't know much longer. This election was an indictment and a judgment of the Democratic Party as it exists today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the question of where is the Democratic Party going? That is really the question, is what's next to the Democratic Party? They're really set up to lose. And the question is why and what happens next? That's where my head's at with this.
No, I think that you're right about that too. Because Norman Solomon and Jeff Cohen, their forensics from 2016 told us that we'd be here in 2020 and 2024. No one paid attention to them. When they said 2 years ago, in November of 2022, Biden, you need to come, don't run, Joe. You remember that, Livonia?
Yep.
People called
Absolutely.
it blasphemy. And he said he was going to be a transitional president, which meant one term. But somehow or another, he decided to do something else. No one is, and now he's amping up a war. I'm just watching him do things that make me go, what? You seem to be very upset now. You real warm about it. And you're getting everybody back. Now you don't want members of Congress to trade stocks while they're in Congress. Now you don't want this. Oh, come on. Look, yank someone else's chain. Please, not mine. Oh, okay. I'm going to let Tio get himself together. Attorney Jones, Tio, get you some tea.
Yeah, that's what I have. I'll make some tea right now, and I'll be right back. Right.
Okay, baby.
All right. Well, Santita, it was a very interesting election that we've come through with Vice President Harris. And I always have to keep in mind that, as things started to unfold, she was not supposed to be the presidential candidate. She was supposed to be the vice presidential candidate to Joe Biden. When Joe Biden was originally elected, he was unpopular. He wasn't a popular president. People didn't want him to be president. They didn't want Donald Trump to be president, and he was the best replacement for Trump at that time, of who could beat him, the formidable person that could beat him. So that's how we end up with the President Biden.
Well, wait. Was he the best replacement, or did the Democratic establishment put the most popular guy out? Come on now, because Bernie, if there was a rumor that Bernie was in town, guess what? 50,000 people would show up. I saw it happen in Chicago in the cold.
Right. But
I think that old Jewish guy was the future of our
And it
party,
happened
and he
in
was sidelined.
It was. The populist. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
And I think
I don't want to cut you off though, Daryl.
Yeah. No, I think, and I don't want to go down that hole too much, but if you go down that hole somewhat, I think that the problem that Senator Sanders probably was facing from the party's perspective was, could he win in the South? Right? He can win a popular vote, but was he going to win and enough of the vote in the South to be able to carry him through the general election?
But Daryl, that was not for them to determine. Look at what we got.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And can I just say real quick?
And Daryl, I
forget
promise you're going to finish.
So sorry.
Boo, I
I'm
got
so
you.
sorry. No, I'm sorry. But people sometimes forget that Joe Biden became president of the United States in large part because of Jim Clyburn. He was
Right.
all but done until
Right.
Congressman Clyburn. All but done.
All but done. Okay.
And
All right.
yes, and then the other thing too that people forget, I remember because I was there. Do y'all remember how it was one day after another we had everybody else dropping out?
Klobuchar.
Former
Buttigieg.
President Barack Obama had meetings with including with Bernie, had meetings with every person and told them they needed to get out of the way. Of course, Bernie
He
said
told
no.
Bernie
Everyone
left.
else-
He told Bernie, "You're done. Get out."
Right.
Yep.
And
And
so
so to your point, sorry, to Santita's point, just that we're not supposed to be putting our thumbs on the scales as the party establishment. Obviously, we know that's not how it works, but anyway.
Right. And all of that underscores and highlights what I was saying, which is that President Biden was not necessarily the most popular choice to be president, although he ascended and won and beat Trump and everything else. So when Vice President Harris steps to the plate, she stepped into a plate of behind and running with, at that point, someone who wasn't popular, who was losing badly, right? Prior to her becoming a candidate. He's then forced to step to the side. She then is given 107 days to try to mount this campaign. And so what she ends up doing is inheriting, the campaign of an unpopular, white male, elderly person. And that's the campaign that she inherited. She didn't have an opportunity nor time to be able to set the course for her own campaign, to be able to lay out her own issues, to be able to put in place all of her own strategies, to have her own campaign staff. She inherited all of this. And then while she's inheriting this, she's trying to put pieces to it that meet who she is and what her interests are. But the time frame is so shortened. So, that's the lens that I think we have to really view what she was able to accomplish through. So when I view it through that lens, I see someone who really did extremely well given those circumstances, who did well given all that she had to inherit with Gaza, and the whole question of what's going on there. All of that stuff was dumped on her and said, okay, it's your ball now. Take it and run. Do what you can do. The campaign was already underwater. And she was able to really, I think, tremendously in a short period of time to lift it up. Now, what Ms. Perryman was raising with regards to the issues of what was hitting and where she was on the issues, she was, seen as the reproductive person and so forward thinking on reproductive health. Well, it was great to have the policy piece that was out there. The policy on reproductive health was successful in 70% of the states that it went through, right? 7 of the 10 states it passed. And then, but in those same 7 states where it passed were states that she lost. Yeah. So it wasn't a policy piece that was lifting her up there or holding her back there. There were other factors that were at play. So I think that when I view all of that and I see that she loses a popular vote by 1.7% or something like that as we stand, they're probably still counting votes in California. I don't know, but 1.7%, that tells me that she does have the ability, certainly, and the the likeness of the populace to be able to get there. She didn't have enough time to develop herself, for people to get to know her, for her to be able to put together her own campaign on her own issues the way that she wanted to approach them. That, I think, was one of the biggest things that hurt her. Now, I think that right now, that for her, for the vice president, the most important thing is going to be to keep her name out front, to remain relevant until whatever the next election is. I think 2026 in the gubernatorial election in California would be a good move for her. It keeps her name out there. It keeps her moving forward. Got to remember what former President Trump did was he lost and he did what? He continued to stay out front. He continued to stay relevant. He continued to keep his people in line and moving forward and say what you want with regards to all the horrible lawsuits or poor lawsuits that he brought. It kept his name in the news and kept him out front. And this is one of the things that I think where we are now with Vice President Harris, that I think she'll be a good candidate in 2028. I think that if she runs in 2026 in the governorship for California, it does not harm her in running in 2028 because her way has already been laid. People will become even more familiar with her and her policies. So, so Santita, I guess I say when I lay all that out, I don't see the harm in her running in California unless she loses. Right. And I don't see it as being a blockade for her to then run for the presidency again of the United States.
Okay. Tio?
The way I see it, everybody left something a little bit under the weather, but heavy is the crown. I believe that Mrs. Harris did the best she could do at the time allotted for her to run. When you run it, you got a lot of backdoor things taking place behind the scenes, like say with the Biden people. You had issues going on, and I think her delivery on a lot of key issues is kind of weak, without a doubt. Hindsight is always 100%, right? And in retrospect, some of her delivery wasn't the best, but she didn't have time to really prep and prepare herself also, when one of the hosts asked her what was she going to do different from Biden, she didn't have anything different to say because she didn't have time to kind of develop anything different. She should have been able to distance herself a little bit. Even though she's the vice president, it was kind of hard to navigate that playing field, in my opinion. Now, if she was to run for governor, she would win the governorship there in the state of California. And as far as running for president again, it's going to be kind of hard for her, but she would have to get a stronger running mate in order to pull that off. Mm-hmm. And like Joshua was talking about, it came down to the Democratic Party. So a lot of the fault went down on Mrs. Harris and how she ran her campaign. But what about the way the Democrats did not really sell the Democratic message on a lot of policies that kind of went wrong for the Democratic Party? They were running up against one of the greatest showmen in politics. I use the word politics because that's Donald Trump. He works from the politics stance. Even when he made the comment in Ohio, said the Haitian people eating dogs and cats, right? I mean, where did that come from? Out the universe somewhere? I mean, he said it, he stood by it, and he went forward with those type of, statements all over the place. So Mrs. Harris right now, a time to reflect, but I do agree she should keep her name out there all the way because she did pretty good. And, in spite of everything else, she did all right. And she can pull it off. She can probably get past that finish line next time with a stronger running mate. But the Democratic Party has a lot of, they have to renew themselves and rehabilitate their image right now. The image is really not sitting too well. And then there was a lot of people that probably could have supported Mrs. Harris that did not come up front all the way, all right? Not all the way, So she has to kind of mend relationships and do the best she can do to kind of swing at this time if she decides to run. If I was her, I wouldn't run for president again myself, but I would definitely do the governor piece.
You say image. What does the Democratic Party really stand for? I am at a loss. Right. I'm at a loss of what it's more than the image. There's something, and I don't want to use the word rotten, that's too negative. There's something intrinsically about the foundation of the Democratic corporation and the Democratic Party that needs some introspection and needs to be fixed or start over again.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
We spoke a while ago.
Dr. Latrice?
Go ahead.
Yes, T.O.
I'm with you on that, Joshua.
Okay, well, Dr. Latrice just went back out again, but
wait, and I do want to just say one thing because I agree with a lot with what Tio was saying, but I also think it's really important to remember when we're in a presidential year, the Democratic Party is the top of the ticket. So it was imperative that Vice President Harris led with the narrative, and it wasn't talking bad about immigrants like she did. It wasn't palling around the country with Liz Cheney. It wasn't talking about a strong economy when, like you said, Santita, people can't afford eggs and groceries and rent. So, I mean, I've got so many things to say about the party as a whole, but when we are in a when we're in a presidential cycle, the party follows the president. That's how it works. And so, the presidential candidate. That's at the top of the ticket. And so the only reason I'm pushing back on it is because I am a lifelong Democrat and I don't want to see us continuing to do the same thing over and over again and continuing to lose and go, oh my God, why is this happening? Because yes, absolutely, she had a short timeline. All those things are true. But at the end of the day, and to Joshua, I think your point, what do we stand for? I'm a Democrat because I believe that we stand for humanity and justice and equity and collective liberation. But I haven't seen that from our party, not everybody, obviously there are exceptions, but I haven't seen that as a whole, as the core of who we are in a long time.
Exactly.
Ronnie,
it breaks my heart.
They got DLC'd. I remember when we were in San Francisco, when Reverend ran in 1984 Livonia, one of the staffers from Reverend's campaign brought a fax into the place where we were sitting. Shirley Chisholm was there. Maxine Waters was there, among others. We were sitting down up in the hospitality suite on our floor. And it was a paper describing the DLC, the Democratic Leadership Council. Bill Clinton, Chuck Robb, Sam Nunn, Al Gore, Al Fromm, the right wing of the party. And they said, in order to counteract the impact of Reverend Jesse Jackson and the 2.5 million voters he has brought on, we are forming the DLC. If we are not successful, we will bolt and leave the party and become Republicans. They were the Blue Dog Democrats. They overtook the party. Let's keep it 100. Let us not forget the history. And then you had a hemorrhaging of black men from the party. Yeah. Did the majority of black men who voted vote for Kamala? Absolutely. But because she did not, Livonia, confront what happened in California when she was the prosecutor and the attorney general, I always said, get ahead of the story. And if anything, say, you know what? I am sorry. I dealt with the laws as they were written. This is what I had to deal with. But if you let me get in, I want to make it right. And this time I'm going to try and make it right. We can't act like that didn't happen.
Right.
Livonia.
Let's go back to messaging. You're at first and foremost. As everyone on the line here and people who are hearing our voices as we come out of the flu and everything else, the point we need to make, this was not a ordinary play by the rules, playbook, regular election. We haven't seen that since 2016. And the Democrats, those people on the line sitting here talking with me and you, we went to the party and said, you know what? This is different than what my mother and my grandmother as Democrats, and they did and worked. The playbook was never changed or impacted. The messaging remained the same as if it was 2016. We had brothers saying, you know what? We hear that our sister put black men in jail. Did we respond to that immediately? No. We all can say that. We did not. It went on for weeks.
No, it went on since 2020, Livonia. She didn't address it then. It pushed her out the campaign. She ran forth in her own state in 2020. So she has had 4 years to work that out. What hurts me is that she didn't. Whenever black folks get dealt a hand, it's a bad hand. And we always have to figure it out. Now hold on. Branch Rickey recruits Jackie Robinson to desegregate baseball. But this was a gorgeous man who was the color of ebony. He was not like Roy Campanella. Not that Roy Campanella didn't have a hard time. This man was ebony hued and had been court-martialed at the most racist base in America, Fort Hood, because he refused to move to the back of the bus in 1947. Excuse me, during the Second World War, before then. They told him, you can't say a word. If you say a word, you are going to mess it up for all black people, and we won't be able to desegregate America's pastime for maybe a generation, if ever. You got to do this perfectly, man. By the time he died 25 years later, he looked at 53. You remember Livonia? He looked like he was 103.
Yes.
He was blind. Diabetes had ravaged his body. He had lost his son. And no, this man had paid a hell of a price. You pay a price. Reverend paid a price. We got to our hotel in San Francisco during the Democratic Convention, the campaign hotel for the Jackson campaign, and they told my mother that they were not ready to receive her. We're spending all this money. What? So I don't want to hear what doesn't happen for us. It is never fair. The fact is we have to be superior still to be equal. So how are you going to be superior? You got to get in the horns of that dilemma and say, you know what? I got to talk to black men. No, I don't need the cameras. I want to talk to them myself. You can't get white advice on black problems.
The thing about it, you're absolutely correct. 2020, we go back to 1984. Trust me, she's telling you the truth. They had us bunking in double rooms, and we were supposed to have rooms set up, and all the Democratic leadership was taken care of. It was totally different within the hotel, within the party. That happened.
Can I give you this piece? Reverend's code name or whatever, forget whatever it was called, with the Secret Service in '84 was, oh my goodness, Thunder. Because I was Baby Thunder 1, Jesse was Baby Thunder 2, Johnny Baby 3, 4, 5. Mrs. Thunder. In 88, it was Pontiac. You know what Pontiac is?
Mm.
Poor old N-word thinks it's a Cadillac.
Right. That's right.
Hold
The
it.
truth.
The whole Jaime Town thing, we're going down the elevator in 84. And the person who had the Uzi, that was the person who flanked the candidate on the right. If they touched the Uzi, that was the most powerful submachine gun in the world at that time, Israeli made. And you always knew the person who carried the Uzi because they were a little different, because they knew that once they touched that, hundreds of rounds would go off and people were going to die. And they told you that. So you didn't want to make a false. I saw more people get forearms broken because they wouldn't let Reverend go. And Reverend would say, "You don't do that to them." They were like, "No. They're not gonna let you go, Reverend. See, if they don't move, if they don't do something, we are under contract with you. You signed papers." The person who carried the Uzi for us was an Israeli American named Jaime. All I'm saying to y'all is it ain't never fair.
Never.
Ever. So enough. When you know that you got a bad hand and the cards are stacked against you, what you gonna do? Because that is how Michael, they still don't want him to be king of pop. In his lifetime, he sold 1 billion records. In his lifetime. The Beatles in their lifetime as a group sold 100 million records. This black boy from Gary, Indiana sold 1 billion. They still don't want to let him be the king of pop.
And if I may say this about the election and what Vice President Harris should do, the situation that Sandy has just shared with you, if she decides to run for governor in California, where we think she could win, has anyone ever thought that the party may decide, no, she should not run, one, and if she runs, we are not going to help her win. Can you imagine that loss? You got to look at what the reality is. Remember, we're talking about an African-American female, African-Americans in America. If we have not seen anything, everything shares with, and I've been there for forever. I'm watching two Americas grow up. I'm watching it within the party. The Democratic Party decides, well, we're going to run so-and-so in Detroit.
That's what they do.
In state, we're going to run so-and-so. And guess what? They don't even text you. They will say, oh, by the way, as they see you on the street, we have decided that your community, the 70% African-American community in Detroit, you are going to vote for this person that we decided to run. And oh, by the way, you weren't even at the table to have the discussion.
Because it's a private business. Because it's a private business. And
yes.
And the thing is, Reverend got everybody in, they got cute, and they stopped sharing information. So boom. But hold on, Dr. Latrice, because she's been on the ground here in Chicago. And so she heard different things too. Dr. Latrice, unmute yourself and tell us what you think. Okay, Dr. Latrice, are you there? Okay, well, you know, we'll wait for her to come in. I mean, but we'll keep on going. I mean, the thing is, the cards are always stacked against us. Okay, so but the thing is, you got to be a superior candidate. The question is, how do you get there? You know, and you can't get there when black men, when the system, you were the head of the system that imprisoned all these black men. You can't, you got to talk to them about it. And you got to have an honest discussion. When the NABJ reaches out to you, you can't be too busy. You got to be there. You got to beat Trump there. He can't beat you.
You have to be on the front end. You know what we were doing? And I'm a Democrat, will be a Democrat as long as I'm black. So, you know, that's forever. My point is,
bless your heart.
That what happened?
Because I don't conflate my blackness with being a Democrat. I'm like, you know, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do what I need to do, and that is that. Because I think that's part of our problem. that, we have been more loyal to an entity that's been than it has been to us. I'm like, no, what y'all need to do is do right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you know what? We went into a campaign in 2016, and we went into a campaign for 107 days. Bless her heart, Harris. I'm speaking of
Mm-hmm.
and we were fighting a pit bull. And to me, this is what I keep telling
Mm-hmm.
people: we were fighting like we were with poodles. You can't fight a pit bull with a poodle.
Well,
I
and
mean,
wait a minute, and to be fair, he was fighting for his life. He
Mm-hmm.
came in
yes,
ready for. Now, I
yes,
mean, look, I ain't mad at him. I'm talking about her, because you know what? Nobody. Look, he might have inherited a lot of money from his parents, but let me tell you something. I lived in New York. Getting from Queens to Manhattan is a big deal because it is an absolutely classist place. Ain't nobody given any look. He has had to fight. The government was weaponized against him. That is real. That's why he's like, I'm gonna deal with this FBI because they lied. Russiagate, all those were lies. Those were lies. You're dealing with someone who is a street fighter.
Mm-hmm.
We're not accustomed to a white man who says, "No, I'm a street fighter." He doesn't play like that. He doesn't play nice. And
no,
guess what? It's not no, and I ain't mad at him because that's the kind of game politics is. You got Reverend outworked everybody. Everybody. He doesn't have the killer instinct, which is why he went as far as he could go. But you were not going to outwork him. He was up before you. He was in bed after you. He outthought you. I bumped into one of his old agents, not too long ago, and he said, "Your father is a pure genius." I said, "Oh, I know." He said, "No, no, no, no." He said it was very, very difficult. He posed challenges for us that we could not even imagine because he had his schedule in his head. So we'd land and he'd say, "We're going to go to this church, this church, this church, this union hall, this union." And he would blah, 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 lay it out for you. Number one, we had more than 70 chapters of push around the country. Reverend had been across the country 50 million times. But it also cut down on sabotage. Because they didn't know where he was going, where he was going, what he was going to do. The thing is, Jackie Robinson absorbed. Michael Jackson absorbed. You know these folks ain't pulling for you. So the question is, what you gonna do? So my thing is now, sis, what's next? Because if you also think they were gonna give it to you before they gave it to Hillary, what world are you living in, sweetie?
that's my point.
Livonia.
That's the point. What would
These
make
folks
you
didn't even
think?
want to give it to Hillary.
What would make you think if they would not give it to the first lady of the United States,
No, the first,
a
white
senator,
lady.
a
The white
white
lady.
woman,
Yeah.
and white
Who was more
women,
qualified than anyone who's ever run.
Mm-hmm.
right? 51% plus white women did not vote for her. They
And
voted
yet
for
she's
Trump.
and yet she still won by 2.9 million votes. If
That's
we
right.
didn't, if we had the national popular vote compact,
Mm-hmm.
she'd be finishing what her second. She would have been done with her second term. I mean,
Yes,
when you think about, no one. When you talk about qualifications, you cannot touch Hillary Clinton. You can't
not at
touch.
all.
Can't touch her. I can't touch her. But one thing I will say about her, she knows how to pivot. So the question is, it's like, okay, now what's next? Because if I were her, I would have a sit down. I'd be talking to Maxine Waters.
Yes,
I'd be talking to Willie Brown. Okay, y'all give me the on the reel. Let me know what you saw.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing about your people, they come at you and they tell you what's up. First of all, honey, in your inner circle, these were all Biden's people, and it was very clear they didn't like you.
Right.
And if you had even sent up some kind of smoke signal, we could have done something on the outside, but we couldn't do anything on the outside because you can't be that cut off from everybody. Because that's how they cut you off. When they cut you off, it's a difference between getting a bouquet, which is beautiful, and a plant.
yes.
The bouquet is dead in days. And I love them. Oh, I love bouquets of fabulous flowers. And roses, child, please. But guess what? I'd rather have a rose bush. Or I'd rather have, give me a tree plant because that's going to last.
Mhm.
And so that's why I'm saying, Livonia, we've got to do the forensics on, and honestly say what happened.
Yes.
And I'm asking you because you're a veteran of the '84 campaign, the impossible campaign. And it wasn't the black elite who carried Reverend. They rejected him. It was a people's campaign,
It
Daryl.
was. It was.
Reverend was trying to get black elites to run. Andrew Young, Maynard Jackson, they wouldn't touch it. Maynard Jackson, to be fair, thought it was a great idea. Uncle Andy thought it was a crazy idea. But Maynard Jackson said he had been run out of Atlanta.
Mhm.
He had made so many revolutionary changes, they would not allow the man to work in Atlanta. He had to leave his own town so then come to Chicago to go to work so he could feed his family. But the people started saying, "Run, Jesse, run! You do it." And all I'm saying is, there's a way, Livonia. I'm gonna give you a couple of minutes. I'm gonna give it to you, Daryl, and then you, Livonia, because I just want to know where she goes from here. Because to me, she's got a lot to do. I just want to know where does she go, and I want her to get the right advice from the right people. Oh my gosh, get the staff that you ran with, the inner circle. Don't ever speak to them again in life.
Mhm.
That's what makes me hot. Because I could see, I said, she's they're telling her menacingly, you better say this. Yeah, but you could see it all. You could see it all over her face, and I was like, that's why you don't want to run like this. No. Because and Trump took it to people who told you not to go on Joe Rogan's show. No. You got to go into the lion's den. All I know, all my life, all Reverend has ever done is gone into the lion's den, and he's always emerged victorious. It makes you tougher. Well, no, I don't know what he's going to say. He's going to say whatever he can say, and sis, you better be ready for it, and be ready for that with that comeback, because that's what we do. That's what we got to do, and the people will respect you for it.
Mhm.
Daryl, a couple of minutes before Livonia closes us out, before I pass out.
No, I think that all that's been shared today is certainly on point. I think that, what I would like to see happen is for the vice president's team, her inner circle, to come up with their 2 and 4 year plan, right? The 2-year plan for how she becomes the governor of California and what she does while she's governor, to have that work toward her 4-year plan of running for president in 2028. Yeah, I think that there's no inconsistency in doing that. And it also will have the impact of being able to meld together that inside team that she needs with regards to her strategy that's uniquely designed just for her. That's what I think that she needs. Now, I don't think by any stretch of the imagination that the 2028 Democratic primary campaign is going to be an easy one. I think that's going to be, there are going to be a lot of players that's in there. The governor out of Pennsylvania is going to be in there. You're going to have Newsom, who's probably in there. You're probably going to have Gretchen Whitmer out of Michigan that's in there.
Whitmer,
Whitmer that's in there, and some other players that we don't yet know. That will be gaining in popularity over the years. But I think that for Vice President Harris, what she needs to do right now, I just think it's ideal for her to take that step with regards to being the governor of California and running successfully for that position, to put herself, tee it up for the presidential run in 2028. That's what I think she needs to do. That's what I think the strategy should be, and that she should start raising those funds now and make it, try to fill out the box as much as you can. That box as many people out. Knock as many people out of the presidential thought process as possible, because you're raising money, you're already talking about it, you're already taking those steps. That's what I think that she needs to be doing at this point in time.
Livonia, a couple of minutes for you.
Really, I am, maybe because I'm just coming out, maybe because I'm coming out of the campaign, and I'm not really clear on what can happen. But I know that I am not in support of right now her
Mhm.
running for governor of California. That
Okay.
the effort that you have to put into, I think there should be a tour. I think there should be a game plan. I think there
Mhm.
should be a national program that she could head up that would take her across the country, not just in California, even though California is major and it would put her at the top. But I'm thinking that something bigger and better that would get the message, her message out without the bubble of politics. Because if she runs for governor and wins, she will be in a bubble. And the policy and the message will have to be a Democratic message, period. But if she takes on the country and really express what really democracy is about, what the issues about immigration is about, all those efforts can make a world of difference nationally. Trust me on this. Didn't 45, didn't that guy on the other side do that? He went
Oh yeah.
around the country
Mhm.
4 or 5 times preaching the same
What?
thing.
And wait a minute. And he did it in 2015 because he went.
Yes,
He went on a tour with
yes,
Black businessmen in
Mhm.
yes,
2015. That's
yes,
Greg Calhoun taking Steve Harvey to see him in 2016 after he won didn't come out of the blue.
yes.
He'd been talking to Black businessmen for years, and he did a tour aimed at them.
I'm
You know,
saying that
winning in
this is the
office,
beginning.
I think you've
This
you've seen winning in office ain't always the big thing.
no,
It's big
no,
having your fingers on the pulse with people. And
yes.
then you because you're servicing them.
You are so right. Can you imagine her, the former vice president, around the country for the next 2 years, talking to Mrs. Jones, Mr. Edwards, Black, white, Jew, Gentile, speaking their truth, finding out what is their problem, what their issues are, and then coming back and say, I'm ready to support and represent you. That is what I'm talking about. It's
Okay.
called branding, messaging, but what is really
Mhm.
called talking to the people that you want to represent and making a difference in their lives.
Well,
Period.
it's called service.
Yes.
Dr. Latrice, I wish I could have you on, but I have got to run now. I love you. I love
Love you
all of you.
guys. I don't know what was wrong with my internet today. Love you
Don't worry.
guys.
Don't worry about it. I love you. I love you. Merry Christmas, everyone, and for my brothers and sisters
Merry
of
Christmas.
all faiths.
Merry Christmas.
Whether
Merry
you
Christmas,
are
everybody.
whether Christmas is your holiday or not, if Christmas is not your holiday, I pray that the spirit of
Mhm.
Christmas will be with you. It is my holiday, and Christians have two high holy days: Easter and which in which we commemorate the death, the killing of our Lord and His resurrection, but His birth and His promise is what we celebrate now. This is a religious holiday. It's been turned into a cultural one, but it's religious. And my mother and father made sure that we knew that. So may God bless you in this holy season. And for all of my brothers and sisters, Muslim, Jew, Buddhist, whatever your background, and atheist and agnostic, I pray that you will be blessed in this holy season and know that you are not alone. A lot of people struggle at this time, but I want you to know you're not alone. You're not alone. Someone bigger than you and I cares for you. Remember that. Who made the mountains? Who made the seas? Well, somebody bigger than you and I. And she made you and me. God bless you, everybody. Merry Christmas. Santita Jackson, AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Sending y'all so much love.